You wake up the day after the election, the results are in. Some people are celebrating, others are angry. Social media is full of "we did it" or "we're doomed." And then life goes on. Your rent's still high. Gas prices haven't dropped. That pothole on your street is still there. And the promises, they already feel like old news. So you start to wonder, why does nothing really change after elections? Let's talk about it. The illusion of big change. Elections are framed as these make or break moments. You hear things like, "This is the most important election of our lifetime." And maybe it feels that way. The ads are intense. The debates are dramatic. Politicians make huge promises. Free healthcare, lower taxes, safer streets, better schools. It all sounds great, but when the dust settles, reality sets in. The changes, if any, are small, slow, or watered down. Sometimes things don't change at all, and sometimes they get worse. So what's going on? Campaigns are marketing machines. First off, let's get one thing straight. Campaigns are designed to win votes, not always to tell the truth. Candidates hire entire teams just to craft messages that appeal to your emotions. Fear, hope, anger, pride. They use it all. They tell you what you want to hear. They say they'll fix everything, that they're different, that they'll fight for you. But once they're in office, they hit a wall. That wall is called reality. The system moves slowly, on purpose. One big reason things don't change fast is because the political system is built that way. Governments are full of checks and balances, committees, procedures, and red tape. In theory, this is meant to prevent abuse of power, which is a good thing. But it also means change takes forever. Even if a president or prime minister wants to do something big, they usually can't do it alone. They need support from lawmakers. Those lawmakers might belong to different parties. And guess what? They don't always agree. In fact, they often block each other just to score political points. Gridlock becomes the norm. Party promises versus party power. Another reason change is slow. Parties often overpromise. They act like they'll be able to wave a magic wand once elected. But the truth is, they might not have the power to do what they said. Let's say a left-leaning party wins the executive branch, but the legislature is controlled by the right. Suddenly, that universal healthcare plan gets shut down. Or a conservative party gets in, but can't cut taxes because the economy's tanking. So you end up with a lot of talk and not much walk. The influence of big money. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, money. Corporations, lobbyists, and special interest groups spend millions, sometimes billions, on political campaigns. Why? Because they expect something in return. Access, influence, protection. So even when a politician wants to make bold changes, they might face pressure behind the scenes to play nice with wealthy donors or powerful industries. They don't bite the hand that feeds them. And when it comes down to it, your vote matters. But a $10 million donation might matter more to the people writing laws. Voters want change, but also stability? Here's a weird twist. People say they want change, but deep down, many fear it too. Think about it. Big change means uncertainty, and uncertainty is scary. What if a new policy messes things up? What if the economy crashes? What if your job is affected? So politicians often end up making tiny tweaks instead of bold moves. That way they can say they did something without rocking the boat too much. Voters, whether they realize it or not, often reward that kind of safe behavior. The power of bureaucracy. Even when laws do pass, they still have to be implemented. That's where the bureaucracy comes in, the government agencies and departments that actually carry things out. And here's the catch. These institutions are huge, like mind-blowingly big. Change doesn't happen overnight in a system that has layers and layers of approval processes, staffing issues, outdated systems, and politics of its own. Even a simple policy can take months or years to roll out. And by then, the next election is already around the corner. People focus on personalities, not policies. Another problem? We treat politics like entertainment. We focus on the personalities, the charisma, the speeches, the scandals. We vote for the person we like more, or the one who seems stronger or more relatable, and that's totally human. But when we do that, policies get lost in the noise. And without policy-focused pressure from the public, politicians don't feel the need to push real change. They just need to look good until the next election cycle. It becomes a performance. a never-ending show. Media plays a huge role. And of course, the media plays into all of this. News outlets make money off attention. So they highlight the drama, the big fights, the gotcha moments, the controversies. That keeps you watching, clicking, arguing. But long-term issues like education reform or climate policy, those stories don't get the same buzz. So they fade from the headlines and from our minds. If the media isn't holding politicians accountable for real change, who will? Short-term thinking rules everything. Here's something most politicians have in common. They want to get re-elected. That means their focus is short-term. They do what looks good now, what pleases voters now, what wins headlines now. They rarely plan for 10 or 20 years ahead because they might not even be in office then. So big problems like healthcare costs, wealth inequality, or environmental issues get pushed to later. Later becomes never. Elections don't change the system, people do. Now, this might sound depressing, like voting doesn't matter, but that's not what we're saying. Voting still matters. It can prevent worse outcomes. It can give communities a voice. It's one piece of the puzzle, but elections alone won't change a broken system. Real change happens when people get involved between elections, when they organize, protest, educate, donate, and demand action consistently, not just once every 4 or 5 years. Change is hard, always has been. Let's be real, change has never been easy. Even history's biggest reforms, civil rights, voting rights, labor laws, they took decades of struggle, sacrifice, and pressure from everyday people. Change didn't happen because someone won an election. It happened because people refused to shut up after the election. They kept going. They kept showing up. That's how systems move. That's how power shifts. So what can you do? It's easy to feel like nothing you do really matters. Especially after an election. You vote, you wait, and then everything looks the same. But here's the truth. Real change doesn't come from one day at the polls. It comes from what you do between elections. Start small. Stay aware of what your local officials are doing. If they promise something, check if they're actually doing it. And if they're not, call them out. Send an email. Show up at a public meeting. They work for you. Don't let them forget that. Support causes that actually align with your values, not just politicians. Donate if you can, share information, volunteer. Some of the most powerful movements started with a handful of people who simply refused to stay quiet. Change doesn't always need a big stage. Sometimes it starts in your own neighborhood. Talk to people, and not just the ones who agree with you. Have honest conversations, ask questions, listen. That's how ideas spread. That's how you build real community power, by connecting, not canceling. Also, don't underestimate the power of your daily choices. Where you spend your money, what content you share, which voices you amplify, those things shape the world too. Culture drives politics just as much as politics drives culture. And yes, keep voting. Even if the system feels broken, your vote still counts, especially in local elections. Those races impact your daily life more than you might realize. The point is, you don't have to wait around for politicians to fix everything. You're not powerless. Change takes time, but it starts with regular people who choose to stay involved, even when it's not trending. You want something different after the next election? Start building it now. So why does nothing seem to change after elections? Because elections are just one small part of a much bigger, slower, more complicated machine. A machine that often values money, image, and power over real progress. But that doesn't mean change is impossible. It just means it's up to us. Not just once every few years, but every day, in every conversation, in every small action that chips away at the old and makes space for something better. That's how real change happens. Not in speeches, not in slogans, but in what we choose to do after the election is over.